Hello children, today we will talk about the Russian revolutions. So my dear children, in my previous videos lectures, I have explained to you in details about the socialism process in Russian country and how the socialists were trying to create a very idealistic society by bringing the cooperative societies, by making different kind of associations in the society, and here the main motto as well as the ambitions of the socialists is to develop the society, because they were talking about economic equality, they were talking about the capitalisms which should be invested in the society and the benefits will be equally shared by the individuals who are there in the society. So my dear children, in our previous videos lectures we have discussed about the ideology of Karl Marx as well as the different socialists. They were giving more importance to the society. So according to the socialists, they were saying that the capital investments should be made by the capitalist and the profits should be shared within the society who are working in the industry. So dear children, today we shall talk about the Russian revolutions. So my dear children, in previous videos lectures I have told you in details that even though there was different kind of associations, but the associations were not able to form the government. Even then they were making an effort to contribute to win over the parliamentary elections. But today we shall learn in details how the Russian revolutions happened in the society. So dear children, here the socialists, what they are doing is they are taking over the government and they are doing it through the October revolutions in 1917. So here the fall of monarchy in February 1917 as well as the events of October is called the Russian revolution. So here what the peoples are doing, the peoples are making the Russian revolutions. Here two events is very important. First the February revolutions in 1917, and we see in the February revolutions there is a fall of monarchy, and here the events of October which is called the Russian revolutions. So my dear children, today we will discuss in details what was the social background, what was the economical background of the nations. We shall discuss in details. So dear children, here the Russian Empire in 1914. So how the Russian Empire was in 1914, we shall learn now. So in 1914 we see Tsar Nicholas was ruling over Russia, and his empire, which is including the Finland, the Latvia, the Lithuania, the Estonia, and some parts of Poland as well as the Ukraine and the Belarus. So these are the regions which are dominated or which are ruled by the Tsar Nicholas in 1914. So apart from that, my dear children, in Russia we see the major religions, and these major religions is Russian Orthodox Christianity, which has been grown out of Greek Orthodox Church. Apart from that, some other sects are being found in the society, found in the empire. They are such as the Catholics, the Protestants, the Muslims, as well as the Buddhists. So these are some of the major religions which are found in Russian Empire. So my dear children, so these are the major social groups who are there in the society and who were adopting or who were following different kind of religions in the society. So right now, my dear children, how the economic situations was there in Russia, we shall learn in details. So dear children, as we will continue with the economy as well as the society. So at the 20th centuries, we see that the Russia's peoples were agriculturalists. So most of the peoples were engaged in agricultural activities, and we see that nearly 85% of peoples who earn their living through the agricultural activities. So dear children, in the empire itself, we see that the cultivators as well as the agriculturalists who are producing for their needs as well as for the markets as well as for the entire nations. So here we see that, so being the agriculturalist, the Russia who are the major exporter of grain. So dear children, here the prominent industrial areas was the St. Petersburg as well as the Moscow. Already we see the occupations of the peoples. The peoples were doing the agricultural activities. Nearly 85% of peoples, they are engaged in agricultural activities. They are earning for their own needs as well as for the entire nations, and at the same time we see there is a industrial areas in Russia, and the industrial areas which are found mostly in St. Petersburg as well as in Moscow, and most of the factories which are being set up in 1890s. So dear children, here apart from the industries, during those period of 19th centuries, we see the development of railway network, and when the railway network developed in the nations, the foreign investment happened, the coal productions increased into double, and the iron steel output which become quadruple. So we see the increasing of the productions, where when the railway networking developed here, we see the development of the industry, we see the foreign investment, we see the productions of the coal, the iron steels. All this becomes very effective after the development of railway network as well as after the development of the industrial society in Russia. So dear children, here most of the industries were private industries. It was run by private individuals, and here the government used to supervise the factory, and they have to supervise the large factory in order to make sure the minimum wages as well as regarding the limited working hours. So here, why the government is supervising the factory here? In order to have the knowledge about the working hour as well as about the minimum wages. Because my dear children, as we know that in Indian society also there are so many industries, and in so many industry there is a Employment Gratuity Act, the Employment Act. All this act has been implemented in the industry. And why it has been implemented? Because to give protections to the worker. So in Russian society also we see the government who is having a strict coordinations in the industrial area in order to protect the worker, in order to protect the workers' situations. The government is taking major initiative, because if the government will not take the initiative here, then what the factory owners will do? They will keep on exploiting the peoples. So in order to protect the workers here, the government is taking the major initiative to supervise the working situations of the workers. Apart from that, during those periods, at the beginning of this industrial society, we see that the working conditions was really very long, because the worker, they were working for nearly 15 to 16 hours compared to 10 to 12 hours, and apart from that the accommodations was also given, but it was differ from room to dormitory. So my dear children, here we see that how the conditions of the society during these period when the industries was developed in Russia. So dear children, when we analyze all the situations, we come to understand that during this time, peoples are trying to develop their status, trying to develop their positions by working hard in industries, as well as they are setting themselves to work in agricultural activities. So, dear children, right now we shall talk about the situations of the worker. As we know that the workers were divided into different groups, and some of the workers were having close links with the villages, and some of the workers were living permanently in town and cities. And here the workers were also divided on the basis of their skill and talent, and here we see that the workers were called the aristocrats, and the aristocrats or these high quality of workers, they need more training, they need more job, they need more skills, and they need more training to develop their skill and talent. Apart from that, dear children, in this Russian society we see 31% of women were involved when working in industries, but their wages were very lower compared to the men. Apart from that, we understand that the divisions of workers were divided on the basis of dressing code, and their manners as well as behavior were also entirely different. And some of the workers, they were forming different kind of associations to help the peoples during the most needy time, during the most crisis times, because there are certain times in which the workers were not having job. So during that time, these associations which had been formed by the worker, these associations were giving their helping hands to all the workers who were facing lot of difficulties economically during that period of time. Apart from that, these workers, they were engaged in strike. Why they were engaged in strikes? Because when they were disagree with the employer, when they were disagree with the owner, during that time they were organizing these strikes, these political demonstrations in order to fulfill their wishes, fulfill their demands. They were organizing all these kind of activities against the employer so that their demands, their wishes, all these things can be fulfilled here. And apart from that, we see the new groups, that is called the noble groups, and these noble groups were the prosperous society, and these noble groups were achieving positions by giving services to the king or the emperor Tsar Nicholas. And these nobles, these landlords, they were having many properties, they were having more acres of land, they were giving it to the peasants, and the peasants were rendering services to them. And here we see that many times in Russia, the peasants, they were not paying rent to the nobles, they were killing them, they were murder them. And we see that the peasants, they were dividing the agricultural lands according to the needs of the family. So my dear children, here we understood that most of the properties that has been occupied by the church or by the landlords, and in those times this was the conditions of the society during the beginning of the 19th centuries. So my dear children, here just like in France, we see the nobles groups were having more acres of land, and they were dominating the peasants. And here we see the quality of the workers who are divided into different groups, and those peoples are leading a very normal life. We have discussed that there are so many kinds of worker, and the workers were divided on the basis of their skills, on the basis of their activities, and these workers were needing more job training as well as skills. Apart from that, we see the women were also engaged in industrialist activities, and they were given very less wages here. So my dear children, this is the economic situations of Russia. This is the situations of the social groups. So before the revolutions which happened in Russia. So my dear children, these are the conditions. So before the revolutions which happens in Russia, these are the economical conditions, and these are the societies who had been divided into many groups. Already I have told you the economic conditions at the very beginning of my classes. I told you that nearly 85% of peoples, they are agriculturalists. Apart from that, we see the development of network, railway network, the industrial network, and as soon as it developed, it changed the society. Now we see the new working class who are working in industry and who are developing their positions in the society. So my dear children, as we understood the societies also there, we see different kind of social groups who are forming associations helping the peoples. So here the Russian society was entirely different. We see the society has been forming different kind of associations to help the peoples. So dear children, by discussing all these points, we came to understand that this was the conditions of Russian society before the revolutions, before the Russian revolutions in October. Thank you so much for listening to me.